And lest we forget, Jerome Hauer. Jerome Hauer, the go-to guy for bioterrorism. In an investigation of 9/11, Hauer's name comes up more than anybody else's. As a managing director of Kroll in New York City, Hauer was responsible for doing security at the World Trade Center. Jerome Hauer is also the guy that got Joe O'Neill his job as head security at the World Trade Center. Yes, he did. Just prior to this, Jerome Hauer was Rudy Giuliani's right-hand man in New York, where he headed up the Office of Emergency Management, OEM, FEMA, in New York City. And it was by Jerome Hauer's suggestion that Mayor Giuliani constructed what became known as the Federal Bunker Offices in World Trade Center Building Number 7. Fireproof, bomb-proof, bulletproof, these OEM offices were basically Giuliani's headquarters in New York City. Until WTC-7 collapsed on 9/11.
That is incredible.
Besides just these jobs, Hauer has been the #1 bioterrorism expert in the whole world. He is a well-known advisor to the Council on Foreign Relations, formerly worked for the National Institute of Health, and is currently the head of the Office of Public Health Preparedness. And on the morning of 9/11, just as the attacks were happening, Hauer instructed the entire White House staff to go on Cipro, the anti-anthrax drug. Now, how did he know anthrax was going to become an issue? Well, as fate would have it, Hauer worked in 1999 with Stephen Hatfield, the prime suspect in the anthrax attacks, at the Scientific Applications International Corporation, the SAIC. This company, the SAIC, was awarded a huge biodefense contract after 9/11. Hatfield, a well-known friend of Jerome Hauer, was working on the military-grade anthrax program at U.S. AMRID, Fort Detrick, Maryland. And Battelle. Don't forget Battelle, a chemicals company with long-standing ties to the CIA. Hauer was well aware of the U.S. AMRID project in Maryland.
So is Hauer CIA?
Kroll is CIA! Come on! We don't know that. Oh, yes we do. Yes we do. I mean, their intelligence is not just going to come right out and say it. But you know what they do. You know what they do. Oh, you know it. They are private intelligence! A managing director there has said, quote, Kroll is like a private CIA. He knows what's going on. He knows what's going on. And there are other companies like Kroll as well. There's T&M Protection, run by Robert Tucker. Tucker met with O'Neill and Hauer the night before 9/11. They had drinks at Elaine's. There's Strang Hayes Consulting. There's Wackenhut Corporation. Then there's CTC International, the Cohen Group. And then there's Strategic, formerly called Securicom. Strategic also had a contract to do security at the World Trade Center. Securicom also had security contracts with Dulles International Airport and United Airlines. And remember, United had 2 planes crash on 9/11. And one of those planes came from Dulles. Now, an interesting note about Securicom is that from 1993 to 2000, one of its principal shareholders was a man by the name of Marvin Bush. Marvin Bush, the president's younger brother.
That's an interesting connection.
But not necessarily indicative of anything. It's 6 degrees of separation. Bush's younger brother doing security at the World Trade Center is something that needs to be seriously investigated! By that rationale, we could have known a guy who knew a guy who worked with a guy who stood in the same street corner as Jerome Hauer, and therefore we're guilty. We are saying it's guilt by association, which maybe we shouldn't do. You can't discount Kroll's connection to all of this! No, I can't. And I won't. Now, Kroll has been involved in a host of shady operations. In 1991, the Kuwaiti government hired Kroll to investigate Saddam Hussein's finances. In 2002, Kroll was given the massive responsibility of reorganizing Enron. Through 97 and 98, Kroll oversaw the elections of the Teamsters Union. And just following 9/11, Kroll was tapped by the LAPD to monitor all counterterrorism efforts in Los Angeles. Kroll really gets around. Kroll is tied to the FBI as well. The director of the FBI during Waco and the first World Trade Center bombing was a man by the name of William Sessions. Now, when he left the Bureau, he became a shareholder of Kroll. And the next FBI director was Louis Freeh. And Louis Freeh's top advisor at the Bureau was a guy named James Buckton. Guess where he works now? He's a managing director of Kroll. Freeh is now a senior vice president at the MBNA Credit Card Corporation. His specific duties include personnel and security. Next to Enron, MBNA was the largest campaign contributor to George W. Bush in 2000. One of Freeh's deputy directors was James K. Kallstrom, with a K. At the time of 9/11, Kallstrom was head of New York State's Office of Public Security. And he also works at MBNA with Louis Freeh. And both Freeh and Kallstrom are well-known friends of Jerome Hauer. Now, it has been rumored that MBNA was one of the companies heavily involved in pre-9/11 insider trading, which would have been investigated by the SEC in New York City, but all those records went down
In World Trade Center 7.
You want to know what really gets me? I'll tell you what really gets me. How all these guys, how did Cherkasky and Jenkins and Bratton and Howard, just how the hell did they become terrorism pundits, huh? I mean, they trot themselves out on TV all the goddamn time saying Al-Qaeda this and terrorist threat that, and from our research and blah, blah, blah. Just where the hell did they get all their information? I hate to say it, but he's right. They aren't official law enforcement or intelligence, yet somehow they became the foremost experts on counterterrorism. A lot of them are former law enforcement. But terrorism is one of the most closely guarded fields of all intelligence. Why would you leak information just to a couple of buddies and allow them to trumpet all that information on a national television? To build up the propaganda campaign, obviously. To frame up Al-Qaeda before and after the fact. Look, we've all got to understand that a company like Kroll, even though it won't disclose its intelligence ties, is intimately linked to the CIA. But if we're saying that the CIA runs domestic terrorism operations, we are saying Kroll does as well. These people have so much information about terrorism because they're either deeply rooted to intelligence or they are intelligence, privatized in order to make their work legal and untouchable by Congress. Oh God, are we saying that the people who run counterterrorism may very well be the terrorists themselves? Look, it's no coincidence that Kroll did security at those buildings. And it's no secret that Kroll employees have more inside knowledge about terrorism than even the FBI and the CIA do. They are inexplicably in a position to get inside information, even from people like John O'Neill. Then they come out and they warn the country, or they tell everybody how the whole terrorist outfit works. They are well-placed operatives working a specific agenda to frame the patsies. And what do they say? To frame someone, you have to know the real details of the crime? Kroll is our suspect number one. No one had more means, motive, or opportunity to commit this attack. You can't be serious. What you're saying is suicide. You do not go out and publicly accuse a company like Kroll Associates of being a publicly traded terrorism company, okay?